Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here, and he's Casey Cooley.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us. A lot to get into. If you didn't listen to our last week's episode, I actually went back and played it back a little bit because it was a big-time discussion.
Probably should have done the same thing.
Big-time discussion. Yeah. Of all the D23 stuff that we got last week, I'm still kind of processing it all a little bit, I feel like, even though we do got some things to talk about this week. But I feel like, I just wanted to start off saying, Case, I feel like I started off by saying at the beginning of the show last week, like, the anticipation for The Rise of Skywalker is just growing in me every single day.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was going to happen like that. I don't know. Is that happening for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Probably not growing as exponentially as you're making it sound for yourself, which is great. But yes, my anticipation is definitely pretty high. I don't know if I'm more so worried than excited, just because of how many questions it appears that they have to answer.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
or all the theories that are out there, all the speculations that's out there. It's like there's so many theories that involve a lot of new material that they'll have to explain it and give back exposition of or whatever. If it's clones or if it's Rey's if Rey's a clone or if she's possessed. And so it's like these different concepts that we haven't quite seen. Well, cloning, yes, like possession, this kind of stuff that we haven't quite seen in Star Wars to like justify in a sense.
That's why I keep. We'll definitely get into more later, but that's why I keep telling myself that it's going to be a lot simpler. I feel like I know there's a lot of rumors going on. There's a lot of like speculation, but I think JJ is going to get down to the roots of the questions that we have, and I do feel like a lot of it will be answered, but I do think it'll be answered in a lot simple fashion. Yeah, because I keep saying I don't know about the possession. I think that's it gets too complicated. That's why I think it's going to be something more simpler and stuff like that. So I don't, but I do agree with you. I think we're kind of jumping. Well, we'll get right into it, I guess, a little Rise of Skywalker talk. But well, first off, I want to mention, because you brought it up a little bit about excitement. Like, I ran a poll about what are you more excited for, the end of the Skywalker era or the start of the Disney Plus era, right? And
that was tough.
It was pretty much split right down the middle, 53 to 47, at the tough. End of the Skywalker era. So, I'm. If you would have asked me a month ago, I would have said the start of the Disney Plus, especially with the Obi-Wan series coming out.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
But now I'm there with the at the end of the Skywalker era.
It's just exactly. And it's not so much like I'm excited, like finally it's going to be over kind of a thing. It's just more like I'm just excited to.
But how is it going to be over?
It's just impactful. Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
like how are they going to end this thing?
Yeah. It's just very, where I'm trying to think, it's the tip of my tongue, but just all of it leading up to this moment. That's why I'm more excited, because there's just so much behind it. Disney Plus, I mean, it's history in the making, because not only are you getting the first live action show, but you're getting the Obi-Wan show there as well. It's like, to me, that's going to be the greatest impact in the future of Star Wars.
100%.
Then whatever theatrical movies come out after.
Yeah, I agree, and that's where that question really means. Is it means that are you more excited about the end of this era, or are you more excited about the beginning of the next era? Right? Yep. Because this era is 40 plus years. Yep. It's all wrapping up, and it's. And you never. I mean, you thought it was wrapped up twice already, right?
Yeah.
You thought Return of the Jedi was the end for the longest time, and then all of a sudden you thought Episode 3 was the end all this time. It's like,
I always thought like Episode 3. After that, I thought like, gosh, this is going to be probably the last one that I will see for a long time. I always thought like if they ever made more movies, it would be, for some reason I kept thinking, it's going to be like 3D animated movies where you can get the voices of the original people back,
right?
but it's just a different kind of medium in a sense. Animation instead of live. I don't know why I never thought like they would do more live action Star Wars with the original cast still in it.
I thought there was a possibility they would go down. Unfortunately, they go down the road they did with like the Ewok movies. Start making these spinoffs
straight to TV.
Yeah, or these
DVD.
just wild, crazy stories set in the universe that had nothing to do with anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, which they kind of started doing, I guess, but they didn't. I mean, Rogue One was significant.
Everything's still very much.
Solo was very significant, but it's like, you could have spun off, like Utapau and did a movie on Utapau. I don't know, from episode 3. Anyway, but no, they continued it, and 789 is reality, and it is wrapping up. I think the Skywalker Saga kind of developed. Like, I don't think that was always. I know it was about the Skywalkers, but George never called it the Skywalker Saga. It was the Star Wars Saga.
Yeah.
So I think once they had a reason for how to wrap this thing up, they had to kind of term it in a certain way. So. Which we'll talk about a little bit later in my little thing I've been working on. But anyway, going back to the film, there was a tweet coming out. I don't know if you saw. There was a tweet coming out that talked about John Williams' comment about finishing up and he didn't give anything away, but he said the ending is going to move you. I mean, it's the way it ends is and that is gonna be. I so pray that I do not get spoiled at all.
Then you just need to stay off.
I know, 100%.
Stay off now, everybody.
Stay off now, really?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
starting to see stuff.
I'm hearing things. So, months ago, right after Celebration, I feel like making Star Wars all of a sudden put out a lot of content about, honestly, the spoilers that they were kind of confirming with their sources, and that's when I kind of stayed away, or at least kept it at arm's length a little bit, the social media and Reddit and all that. But now, the past week, on Reddit, a user by the handle of Jedi Praxis has put out a very lengthy Reddit about the whole, what he claims to be is the entire plot outline of Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, really?
Cody and I talked about it because Cody, I was wondering if he even read it because he's very much involved with the Reddit culture, and he didn't read it because, for one, he thinks it's legit, because one sign that he holds is that it's just very, very lengthy. Like, I was just scrolling through it on my phone, and it took a while to scroll through this entire article that this guy posted. So and then people are kind of commenting about it, cooperating it with other sources that have kind of supposedly leaked things, and Making Star Wars even said like they can confirm some of it, and but they stand by their own reports, and kind of almost kind of praising, and yet just recognizing that Jedi Praxis has kind of they're sitting at the table now in terms of legit spoilers that are kind of out there. So it's very scary. So be careful if you're on Reddit or just anywhere right now, because other sources might be reporting it by now. I'm definitely skimming headlines at this point, because I've read a couple other headlines about. Typically, you don't want headlines to be spoilery.
Yeah, that's the worst.
So there have been a couple that don't spoil anything. They tease, even how they're teasing a spoiler, in a sense, is still a spoiler. So it's very scary out there. So just everybody be careful. Get off of it. If you're worried, just stay off, because it's getting to we're in the end game now, so it's getting there.
Yeah, we are.
But so be careful.
Yeah, so this quote from John Williams. I'll just read it. J.J. Abrams is directing a new film, and I agree he's doing a fantastic job. And I think, I won't say anything about spoiling it, the ending. It'll just put you all away. I think you'll love it.
Yeah.
So
that's been pretty widely echoed throughout the rest of the cast too.
Agreed. Yeah.
A lot of them keep saying it's satisfying, it's impactful.
But one person I feel like has been like completely tight-lipped.
Who's that?
is Mark Hamill.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, for one, he wasn't at D23.
Yeah.
He wasn't on any of these red carpet stuff that you're seeing, and
Yeah.
I see as much as I can of him on Twitter, but like he hasn't really said anything about the Rise of Skywalker. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything, but it just seems like he's not right now in a way fully engaged in the marketing of the film yet. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they're keeping him hidden, but also
Yeah.
he probably is not, most likely not front and center
No.
very much. So,
Yeah.
Very,
That begs the question of how much he's in the movie.
yeah.
For sure. So at D23 also, I think, or maybe this might have dropped after. Excuse me. I think it was a little after, but they released some more Sith Trooper figures, and somebody identified. Again, this is not really Rise of Skywalker news. It's more just overall news, but apparently it kind of got released that it revealed the battalion number of the Sith Troopers.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They're the 105th, which is 501st backwards in a sense, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, just thought that was interesting.
Easter egg.
But they're really putting these Sith Troopers out there.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just
like,
they're devoted, like
do
marketing.
you think we'll
how they're-
see them in a trailer at all before? Because we haven't
Yeah,
seen them.
I think we will.
Yeah, I do too.
I think we're due for one more trailer, and it'll show.
Yeah.
We'll get a good taste. I think one more trailer, we'll get a pretty good taste of all the characters. I would think. Maybe not Luke still, but
Yeah,
Sith Troopers, Zori.
I mean, obviously, it's a big drop apparently to some people, but I think the excitement, the initial excitement of seeing Dark Rey, has kind of subsided now because I think a lot of people do believe like there's no way they can show that, and it's kind of a big plot point,
Sure.
So I think I'm sensing that people are starting to fall off that. So it is interesting because I do anticipate one more trailer, and I do anticipate it being out when they finally release ticket sales. So
Yeah.
I think it's probably next month sometime, October,
Yeah.
early October,
Yeah.
mid-October. But I got to tell you, I don't think it's going to be much more than what we saw at D23. Like,
I hope.
I don't think it's going to be like a story-based. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's going to be that way.
I hope it's more because honestly, I think my recollection of comparing D23 to Celebration trailer, there was more in the Celebration trailer, right? I felt like there was more shots.
There was more shots, but there was more more action.
Yeah.
In this one, there was
Yeah.
I mean, Rey and Kylo was a big. I mean, we saw it on the poster, but then it's like you're seeing it in
That fight,
you're
yeah.
seeing the fight. You had and you had Dark Rey, but you had a shot of Leia, you had a shot of
we've seen more Leia than of Luke.
yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, we haven't seen
It's
Luke
funny.
at all, but you still had the same voiceover from
Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah, we only gotten that one image, I think, from Vanity Fair. I think
Yes.
it's Vanity Fair, right?
But but it looked like it was kind of episode 8-ish.
Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Force
Well,
Ghost, maybe.
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope it's more content than D23 sneak peek, but I don't think it'll be like a story type. I don't think none of them have been story really, like domestic trailers where it's like a full blown story and you get a sense of the synopsis in the trailer.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like maybe Force Awakens might have had Starkiller Base. I think I can't. It's been so long, but
Yeah, well, it showed the battle. You
Yeah.
couldn't really tell if it was a full base, like a Death Star type, but it was. They showed that. Last Jedi, I mean, I feel like the Last Jedi, like the first trailer we saw, which was at Celebration. We heard Luke like talking about breathe and do you sense? It's like there was a sense of training Rey, right?
Yeah,
So you're like,
exactly.
oh my god, she's gonna get trained. They're gonna, and then but there wasn't much. We didn't know fully beyond that. Really, you saw some shots of the Battle of Crate, but it wasn't. the whole, obviously the whole like chasing in space was not revealed, and stuff like that. So it's like it was more centered around the Luke Rey relationship. I think it was always centered around that. It was centered around Kylo busting his mask. We saw that in the marketing,
right?
So it was like, you heard. Remember the big? I remember actually. I'm starting to remember now. The big controversy that was in the trailer was Snoke saying like, when I found you, you were. Yeah. It's like, who is he talking about?
Fulfill your destiny.
Who is he talking about? Is he talking about Kylo? Is he talking about Luke? Is he talking about Rey? Ultimately, he was talking to Kylo, right? So, but there was this hint of it was to me the marketing of that in this trailers in a way felt a lot more Force centric, in the Force side of things, the dark and the light. Even though half the movie involved Poe and Leia and Dan and Poe and Finn and all this stuff. So that's what I'm saying. Like I think they've again started going down that light side, dark side, and not necessarily the Resistance versus the First Order,
right?
Which I think with Palpatine coming back, I think it is more about the dark versus the light. It's in the Force side of things versus the actual Civil War that's going on, or whatever.
But you go back to the shot of the fleet of the Star Destroyers, and that's so intriguing. So it's got a like the impact of kind of the overall dogfight in space that all these movies have. I feel like this one will live up to the hype of being the most epic
space battle.
Yeah, so I think
Return of the Jedi was pretty massive.
So I feel like it's the last one. So I think the big space battle isn't just going to feel just like, oh, we got to have a larger scale fight while we have the smaller scale one on a planet somewhere or some base somewhere. So I think this is the one that's happening in space will be just equally jaw dropping.
Yeah,
I think it will be.
Yeah.
So far they haven't been that crazy memorable space battles or anything like that.
I mean, it's funny because Return of the Jedi, which is funny. I got something to mention about that too. But like Return of the Jedi, at the end, it was conceived as the final battle, right?
Yeah.
And you had what I think, and I'm trying to think of, did they say it? Like, didn't they say like that was the entire fleet at the time?
You've said it before, but I had never remembered to go back and check.
Yeah. Of course, we know it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because of what happened, obviously, in like aftermath and all that stuff, there was the Navy was still scattered. The majority of it there, obviously, the Executor, the Super Star Destroyer, was there. Mm-hmm. But if you remember correctly, they told the Emperor told them to hang back.
Yeah,
they weren't really involved in the fight because the Death Star was operational, so they were just like destroying all the ships, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until the rebels actually engaged the Star Destroyers that there actually was a and just think about that and think about the technology now, how good that battle could have been, and what we may see, like you said, in Episode 9.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's the same thing. It's like the fleet of Star Destroyers. They're just standing there, so they're just hanging out. So who knows if they're going to be engaged at all? But
right. So actually what's funny is that. Of course, whenever I was flipping through channels on TNT tonight, Star Wars was on. Return of the Jedi was actually on, and I happened to turn it on right when Luke walks out of the Ewok after they got accepted into the tribe. Walks out in the bridge, and Leia comes out. I was like, "Oh man, it's perfect! I want to watch this scene again." And that scene, I'm telling you, man, and this is a complete side note. I didn't plan on talking about this, but that scene gets more and more significant as just new things come out.
That conversation between Luke and
gosh,
Leia,
yeah, because when you first see it back in the '80s, even in the '90s, I mean, you have no context of what they're talking about. Like you don't know you don't even know the name of her mother.
Right.
You don't know the relationship Anakin had with her at all. Now we know. I mean, we have the latest book, that Queen's Journey. It's like Queen Shadow. It's like we know so much about Padme now, and even though the line that she gives is technically inaccurate,
right?
Because she doesn't know her mother, and she died at birth.
Her real mother, because he asks her, right?
Yeah,
mother.
So he knows that he knows and she knows that obviously she knows that she's adopted.
Yeah.
But she has memories of some real mother. Now,
like force imprints, really. That's how they're kind of been explained
it could be,
a little bit.
You know, it could be. Yeah, that's. I think that, or just a lot of maybe Bale told her a lot about her. You know, in those terms. You know, or maybe she just sensed it at birth. You know, I don't know. But either way, it's kind of a little bit inaccurate. But it's fun. It's so funny because this was recorded. You know, almost 40 years ago, and Luke's expression on his face when he's just like, I never knew her, you know, and you can tell the sense of loss or the sense of you know, just no knowledge of her mother, no memory of his mother, and the reveal in her face when he says, you know,
you're my sister.
Well, first Vader's my father.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And then you're my sister. It's like a complete. But she says, you know, like, I've always known, you know. So it's like, I don't know. It's just that whole scene. I was just watching that scene, like, wow, that is powerful.
Yeah, that's good.
And even more powerful now, all these years later, because now we're just getting so much information.
Yeah, I tell you though, I do think Rise of Skywalker. Because we talked some episodes ago about Padme's possible involvement, like what we kind of hope to be in Rise of Skywalker. More and more, I'm thinking that she will be reference more than a reference.
Yeah, I think so too.
She'll play into it somehow. Her legacy. So that's gonna change, you know, the context of which you view these other movies and such.
Especially the prequels.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be. I can't wait to just. This movie, as it's been said, to really bridge the gap of all these trilogies and then make it feel like one whole saga, and not like, you know, it's like bringing all the communities together. So I think it's not feel like, oh, you're a prequel, you're OG, or you're a sequel guy. It's just like, you know, this movie will tie them all together. So it's like you are one and all a Star Wars fan. You love all of the movies. You have to know and appreciate all of the movies to get the full impact of Rise of Skywalker, and I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah, 100%. So moving on to some other crazy news. We kind of just mentioned it earlier about the Mandalorian.
Yes.
So of course D23 was not much. The trailer was dropped, although we, as in Casey and I and Cody and Corey, we got lucky, and Adam, of course, at Celebration, where we saw a lot of footage, a lot more than what I feel like a lot of people have seen. We've seen a couple scenes. We saw pretty much what felt like the entire opening. I think it was the opening scene,
like the first 7 minutes or something like that. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, like first couple scenes
with Werner Herzog and the Mandalorian.
And Carl Weathers was in the first one. Yeah,
yeah. So I feel like I feel spoiled in a sense that we've seen all this already, because the trailer didn't have anything voiceover, any kind of dialogue in it really.
Well, so much so that what we saw at Celebration, we pretty much know at least the mission of the Mandalorian.
That's right.
And so far, what the public has seen, they don't know.
I had no idea.
Which is interesting, because all the additional things we've seen that the public has seen, it just fuels my speculation based on what I've already seen from Celebration. So it's a pretty fun situation to be in.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, I felt that way once whenever we saw the. I don't think you were there, right? The premiere of Rebels.
No, never saw those.
So I saw the premiere of Rebels months before it came out, and I was like, "Wow, I see the first 2 episodes. This is crazy." But so Mandalorian just recently though, you had mentioned it, that there's is that a rumor or is it an actual
about what?
About the First Order?
No, that's confirmed. It's in the EW articles, the Entertainment Weekly stuff.
Yeah, so
put out a lot.
Exploring the origins of the First Order. Now, I don't know how you feel about that.
I kind of mixed, because for one, I was kind of hoping that this is going to be pretty separate from the main saga stuff, because of course you have Imperials. You have one of the supposedly what we've seen so far, what might be the lead villain is a Moff, former governor of the Empire, the Gus from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So he, so the Empire and Stormtroopers, that's definitely a presence, but going as far as saying it'll explore the origins of the First Order. But, when I first read that in the Entertainment Weekly, I kept thinking well, sounds like they're going to be kind of changing potentially some canon, because there's nothing. Not that we don't have any stories of the First Order, but what we know is basically what we thought the first time the First Order is mentioned is in Bloodline, which is 6 years before Force Awakens, 5 or 6 years. So it's like, to me, it means nothing was happening with the First Order in the public view. It was all unknown regions, wild space, like nothing at all was going on. Maybe backdoor dealings, I guess, with some of the politicians to keep the money flowing.
The funding, yeah.
But maybe that's what we'll see. Maybe it'll just be that and just mentions and references. But I can't imagine, them going very deep into that.
Yeah.
But I loved reading Entertainment Weekly because they were saying, Filoni, of course, is involved, and he's all about expanding the universe, and they even praise him as being the most prolific Star Wars writer because he's seen and written more Star Wars than anybody.
Yeah.
So they recognize that the Favreau and Filoni are acknowledging, and they are taking into consideration the canon expanding universe that's out there that talks about the First Order, all the other shows, and all the media. So they're not going to ignore what's already been out there. And the Entertainment Weekly even references Bloodline. So it's like it put my fears at ease. Like they know how to fit it in. They're going to fit it in right and appropriately. They're not going to just retcon everything. So, but still, I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. It's very surprising.
Yeah, I'm a little taken aback by that too, because I think that's such a that is something I feel like you have to somewhat mention or acknowledge in the films, because that's where it was introduced, right? And like you said, the all of the big factions, the Republic, the Separatists, Rebels, the Rebellion, the Empire, and then you have the Resistance and the First Order. It's like we kind of know the beginning of the Resistance, because of Bloodline.
Yeah, that was the beginning. Yeah.
Correct. You kind of get this. I mean, to me, in a way, I feel like I kind of know the origin of the First Order because of Aftermath. Like, they all left, and what was remaining, left to the unknown regions, and somehow, what we don't know is we don't know Snoke, obviously.
Yeah,
and but we know that this was all developed out in the unknown regions because there was no detection by the New Republic that this was happening, right? So, I mean, how would this person or this Mandalorian or how would anything, like you said, know years? We're talking, 24 years or so, 20 years before? Because this is like 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
So
we're only talking about 20 years or so before Bloodline.
Yeah. Because even Bloodline, they even made a point, I forget the character's name, the female politician, but she was communicating with somebody and actually mentioned First Order by name. And I think did they make a point in the story at that point where they said, like, this, like, you're not supposed to say that,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
I think so.
Very taboo word to even say.
Yeah,
like that was the first time it was really mentioned outside of the circles of the First Order.
Right.
So it's how are they gonna integrate this?
I don't know. But I do think I like somebody's either I can't remember if I read this or heard this, but I heard somewhere that the First Order could be a reference of Palpatine's like First Order after his demise. That this whole thing got triggered because of his death, right? Which seems likely, and I think that's something. Again, I think that's something that would be revealed and explored in Episode 9, not in this television series. So
I'm sure they'll play it safe and it'll just be references. I
think so.
Yeah, like a hush-hush kind of backdoor things about funding and about,
Because I would be curious.
Something like that.
I would be curious because in Mandalorian, we're still seeing stormtroopers dressed as Imperial stormtroopers.
Yeah.
At what point do we actually see a First Order stormtrooper? It's like because surely that wasn't the first time the landing on Jakku in episode 7.
No. Yeah.
I mean, they had to have been revealed
in that time, 5-year time. It's like it's pretty.
They're out there. Right?
They're quickly becoming.
Yeah, they're a known threat.
Hopefully that.
But the Republic still doesn't think they're a threat for some reason. That's why the whole big thing with Leia has been. But so I don't know. I'm not. I just don't know how they can mention them by name for one, and then I don't unless it's like we talk about everything that something gets someone finds out, but then that means they have to die because
exactly. Run into a room, see Snoke there and Hux, Hermitage Hux. It's like, oh my gosh, not her, Brindle Hux.
Brindle,
yeah. So that would be, that'd be funny.
That would be interesting, for sure. But that's apparently the article that's out there, like you said, that's explaining, that that's what's going to happen in the first the Mandalorian series. So I don't know. We'll start finding out November 12th when Disney Plus drops with the Mandalorian. So moving on to just a little bit of book news here. I finished Thrawn Treason just recently, the audiobook, and I definitely have to agree. I won't spoil anything, but I definitely have to agree with a lot of the reviews that I had heard and read beforehand that this wasn't the best Thrawn book.
Yeah.
I do think the first one is still the best. This had its moments, though. I mean, it started off, I felt like, really good. I felt like it dragged really heavily in the middle. And then I actually kind of figured out how it was going to end.
Yeah.
It was pretty revealing, and there were still several hours left, at the end. So it's like the end, but the end, there were some good parts at the end. It literally butts right up against the next season of Rebels because they even talk about Lothal at the end of this thing. So
gotcha.
But it's funny because the treason. I'm curious just to know, like, what just not knowing the story. What do you think this Thrawn treason is actually referring to? Do you have any clue or any thought about it? Like, because I did before I went into it.
I mean, it's dealing with whether or not Thrawn's gonna turn against the Empire or not because the Chiss are more involved and they're kind of splitting his allegiances a little bit. And that's kind of where I was leading.
See, that's what I thought.
I mean,
but it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, so unless there's literally another character, I don't know, that we haven't even heard of yet that it actually deals with.
Right. So that threw me off a little bit. So
and that's what the synopsis made me think.
Yeah, agreed. And it's not really about that. I mean, there's hints of it a little bit, but not really. But it's funny is that, again, I don't want to ruin it for anybody necessarily, but the cover's got the Emperor on it, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not even in it that much. Like he's in the beginning and that's it. So it's like it's more about what's really cool. And this is not spoiling anything because this is traditionally what the plot of the story is that the funding for Stardust.
Yeah.
So Krennic is in this thing, which is pretty neat, and then of course Tarkin. But there's supply line for Stardust that is getting what they're thinking that it's getting accident. So it's weird. It's like these creatures. I can't remember. I think it's Minox. No, well, the Grisk are involved.
Yeah,
but the Minox, or I can't remember if it's Minox or something else. But they're attacking. They're not attacking, but they're attaching themselves to these supply ships.
Yeah,
and then their supply ship, which are causing them to randomly jump.
Oh, interesting.
And so they're losing these supplies.
Yeah. And
Thrawn proposes that because the funding, he wants more funding for the TIE Striker or the TIE Defender program.
Right.
But in order to get it, he has 1 week to figure out, or 1 week to stop these ships from randomly jumping. Mm-hmm. He investigates, obviously, and it goes much deeper than just what it is, right? So that's what the story's like. So it's him against Krennic, really, which is pretty neat. In the and they're talking about the Death Star a little bit and all this stuff. So
that'd be cool to see live action.
oh my gosh, yeah,
Krennic and Thrawn,
yes,
Tarkin.
Oh my gosh, yes. There was a scene where they're all sitting and talking. I'm like, gosh, that is incredible.
Yeah, because you can do it now.
We will see Thrawn live action at some point. I do think we will.
Yeah,
I do think he'll drop down, and maybe it's the Cassian series.
Oh dear, yeah,
right.
Oh man,
because that's right around that time that he's around.
Yeah, man.
So book wise, that Thrawn, obviously I still think it's worth reading, especially if you've read the first two, because it does kind of tell that whole story of Thrawn away from Rebels. Brand new book that just dropped last week, Black Spire, by Delilah Dawson. Now, this isn't. Now, forgive me because I'm very bad about, and I don't know if it's bad, but the novels, as the ways the novels go, like I don't read those excerpts that are out. I don't actually read what the books are about. I just get right into them.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if books are, if I see a Dark Disciple, it's got Asajj Ventress. Obviously, I'm hooked and I want to know. But with books like this, where kind of all new characters and I don't know the storyline well, and I don't know if you knew this, but the story centers around Vi Marathi. Mm-hmm. Now, Vi Marathi was actually in the Phasma book.
Okay. I haven't read Phasma yet.
So in Phasma, which is written by Delilah Dawson, the story is about this resistance fighter that gets captured by Captain Cardinal,
right,
which is the red First Order outfit, who has a grudge against Captain Phasma. He's interrogating Vi because this resistance person, which is Vi Marathi, who was sent to Parnassus, which is where Captain Phasma was from, to kind of learn about it. Well, Cardinal is interrogating her to get some dirt on Phasma in order to turn, that's like an internal bickering going on. Anyway, so Vi, this takes place a few weeks after that book.
The Black Spire does?
Yes.
Interesting.
So which is great because, again, this is not spoiling anything because I just started the first chapter. This is in the first chapter. But so this is about 3 or 4 weeks after she escapes the resistance or the First Order.
Yeah.
She's fully recovered and healthy, and the first mission that General Organa is sending her on is to go to Batu and Black Spire Outpost, scout it out, see if she can gain support there for the resistance. She tells Vi that she's on her way to Takodana to follow some leads, which is episode 7, right? So this book takes place right then during episode 7. So
cool.
So it's really neat. So Vi Marathi, if you don't know either, she's an actual physical character that is in Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland and Disney World now, that you can actually interact with.
Curious how the book ends, Black Spire, because I guess kind of technically the time period of Galaxy's Edge is right after Last Jedi, right? It's kind of current. So if you could ask her in person about the events that happened in the book, and I wonder how brushed up she is.
Yes,
which I'm sure she is.
I think she is. Yeah,
you're required to read this book, if you're going to be Vi in the parks.
Well, and I have a feeling, just based on what Leia was saying in that about the importance of Batu, I feel like we might go there in episode 9.
I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean,
so cool.
That being because they keep talking about it being the edge of known until the unknown region. So it's almost like it's that step before you reach where the First Order is.
I'll just scream. I don't care if no one else screams along with me, but because I sent you the video. You've seen it. People out there probably seen it. Of there is a live actor playing Hondo in the park as well.
Correct.
Talking to he's lip synced to a recording of him, but it's still like he looks great. It looks fantastic.
Totally. Yeah, agreed.
And like, so yeah, if they go to Batuu, and if they have to get if again, that covers this concern point earlier where it's like the Falcon's in the hands of Hondo Ohnaka during Galaxy's Edge, which supposedly is kind of current timeline in Star Wars, which means Rey doesn't have it. At some point, she loses it to Hondo.
That's right.
I guess.
Yeah.
So if that's real, then maybe in Episode 9, it starts off the movie. The Falcon's in the hands of Hondo, and we see Hondo in Rise of Skywalker. That would be awesome. The freaking coolest thing.
That would be.
Oh my gosh,
that would
so
be
cool. I would flip out.
A character that was created in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
You know,
oh my, yes.
This whole time. That's.
And it'd be even better if it was voiced the same voice.
Yes,
Jim Cummings would be so freaking cool.
I think you have to.
You almost have why
to.
You wouldn't,
right?
Yeah, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I think you could be right. I mean, I think it could be the way it is. Because if they're really touting, you know, because like again in D23 when they revealed that timeline, they had Galaxy's Edge on that timeline for some reason.
Yeah, and like I need to look on Twitter because I don't know if anybody's even asked about that.
No, I haven't seen anybody talk about that. You know, why would you put a Disney park in the middle of all these TV series and movies?
Yeah.
You know, unless there's going to be some significance to it.
Yeah, and if it's truly in that gap and questioning why Hondo has the Falcon kind of thing. So
correct. Yeah. I don't know.
So many questions.
Another just quick book news. It's funny. There's a book coming out. I haven't really read into it, but all I saw was the title. It's called, have you seen this? It's called Star Wars, How Not to Be Eaten by Ewoks and Other Galactic Survival Skills.
Not heard that. That's hilarious. I'm glad it's being recognized.
I am totally going to read this book. But it's funny because on the cover it's got even like extra things like it says captured by stormtroopers, choked by a Sith, disintegrated by a stormtrooper or a bounty hunter, kidnapped by hostile Tusken Raiders. It's like all these different caught in the crossfire of a deadly battle, frozen in carbonite, taken over by a parasite Geonosian brainworm,
oh my god,
baked to death on Tatooine, trapped on an exploding Death Star. So it's like all these different ways to survive.
Funny.
So anyway, that book's coming out. When is that coming out? It is coming out. Let me get to the end of this. I don't see a date, so I don't know when that's coming out. But that's funny. Let's look for that. Coming out soon, I'm sure. Okay. That's really a little bit of thing I saw. Did you see this? There is a massive, the largest Lego set to date coming out for Star Wars. It's the actual Imperial Star Destroyer, like
the Devastator,
a bigger one than I don't know which one it is. It just says Imperial Star. They have a Star Destroyer I think you can make now, but this one is 4,800 and something pieces.
Jeez. How does it say? Like
43 inches long. Wow. So it's almost 4 feet.
Yeah.
It's massive. And what's funny is it actually even comes with a little Tanta V4 you can build that can get
to scale.
That can go underneath it.
That's like Legoland type stuff for people to build it right in their home. That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, it's huge. Anyway, pretty cool. All right, let's move on to our main topic here because we got to continue our journey to Episode 9. We're kind of moving through the eras of Star Wars right now, and right now we're kind of centered around 2 shows ago we talked about the dark times, kind of connecting Episode 3 to 4. Now we're kind of in that Episode 4 era, and I wanted to talk a little bit about actually someone I've been thinking about over the last week or two is actually Han Solo. And his significance in the saga and what role, if any, is he going to play in Episode 9? Because there have been rumors that there is a Harrison Ford appearance.
Yeah, that was an early rumor.
Yeah. But like you said, if they're truly trying to wrap this up and connect all these things, I think that it's a high possibility that that there's some kind of flashback scene or something with him.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's no way he's like coming back as a Force ghost or anything.
It's just like true. people were saying that the cast is saying this is satisfaction, like this satisfying ending to the saga, but it's like I've always thought that Lucasfilm and the writers, the filmmakers, have always kind of shied away from being too just fan satisfaction.
Right. Agreed.
I mean, I get it, but it's like you can make it satisfying and still fan service. Marvel did it perfectly to me. So, anyways, like you can have a scene, a flashback scene or a force back scene of that has Han, Leia, and Luke. I think you can do that somehow.
That would be incredible. Oh my gosh, that would
they don't have to say anything. They're just together looking at each other. I don't know, just like a quick force back thing where it's like going from vignette to vignette or scene to scene. It's just quickly seeing these characters together. So I don't know.
That's true.
So it's like
true.
I think it's very likely that Han Solo could be in it, and in that capacity would be perfect.
Yeah. So Solo, we know now with the movie, basically his origins and how that happened, but which I am on. I'm totally committed on the fence of that. Solo should have been just a series, Disney Plus series.
Series or movie? Series. Yeah, I think it still should.
It could still, but I feel like Alden should have been the series based Han Solo, not the movie Han Solo. But anyway,
still, man, you can still do it, and I think they would all do it.
Yeah. I think it's possible. Because
talk about satisfaction.
Yeah. You're right. Totally right.
The series is perfect because you could in a series you have your multiple plot lines that you can explore. So you don't have to put Han Solo in the same room as Darth Maul. People kind of been thinking like how it would have to go, but it wouldn't make sense.
Right.
So
yeah, totally right.
So many possibilities.
Okay, so. So Han, I think. What do you think? How much? I guess the biggest question I would have is how much of a significance truly has Han been on this this creation, in a sense, of Kylo Ren being his father?
Oh wow!
You know what I mean? Like because ultimately he is. In The Force Awakens, that was a significant part of the storyline was how Leia and Han lost their son, right, to the dark side, and it's hinted at. That's part of the reason why they're not together in a sense, fully. And but the fact that he Ben killed him, it's like how much did that contribute? How much did Han actually contribute to the creation of Kylo Ren? Is a big question, I feel like, and whether or not, I don't know if that needs to be answered or not.
I mean, I think to me, I've got enough of an answer of that based on what we just seen and read. Because, it just seems like as much as Han Solo tried to be a good father and wanted to, I mean, Leia, as well. She's not without fault, but it seems like that they're just. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like as much that Ben Solo wanted them to be, they didn't fulfill they weren't the parents that he wanted them to be. And Han Solo wasn't the father that he thought he needed or wanted, So it definitely seems like Han was just one fourth of the reason, because you have Leia, Luke and what he did in Last Jedi, and you have Snoke's manipulation tying it all together. So I think Han Solo though was huge, just because. I mean, well, just like with Luke, but it's like Han and everything that he represents, such as like the Falcon, like just Kylo just seems to just hate it. He just absolutely, he sees the Falcon, he wants it shot out of the sky, he wants all the TIE fighters to go after. It's just like the hatred that he has for it is very obvious. So I definitely think that.
But what do you think that stems from, though? Really, that just like. Bad parenting, or
no, and honestly, I haven't read Last Shot yet, so I can't say.
Well, there's not much in that
really
that's more about Lando and him.
Yeah, well,
I mean, Ben's there, but Ben's only.
I don't know if it's a really bad parent. I can't say bad parenting. It's hard for me to say something like that, but it's just the same reason, I guess, why Han and Leia kind of drifted apart is because it just, as much as they wanted to be that nuclear family unit, it's like. They just couldn't break away from who they really are.
Right.
So it seemed like Han just couldn't pull 180 and be that stay-at-home family man, father that he wanted to be, Ben wanted him to be. So it seems like, it just didn't work as well.
Yeah, and I'm really curious about that decision of sending Ben to train with Luke.
Yeah,
like, because Leia, obviously I feel like Leia was highly involved in that, and she somewhat talks about that in Force Awakens when she talks about like it wasn't us, it wasn't Luke, it was Snoke.
Yeah,
Snoke.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, did it come down to her and Han making that decision to let him go, or was it just Leia and Han wasn't even there? And it does make you wonder a little bit about Han's commitment and involvement in his life, and because like you said, if he wasn't getting that attention and love from Han, and then all of a sudden he goes and trains with Luke, and then he's not getting. I mean, he wakes up and looks like he's about to get killed by his own uncle. Yeah. It's like, but there's obviously still that manipulation from Snoke that ultimately is doing that.
That's what it is. Yeah, he just like the Emperor or Palpatine did with Anakin. It's just he twists what's already there. He twists the seeds that are already there, and it makes it. He blows it up into a crazy situation. So, but Han in that scene in Force Awakens where he was telling Leia like he couldn't do it. Why would Ben listen to him? That kind of thing. So because you're his father. But no, it didn't. He doubts himself as a father, and I think that ripples through his effect as a father. Yeah.
And what else is funny is that Han, we know him in the original trilogy as a smuggler and a scoundrel, right? That becomes a general in the rebellion and helps defeat the Empire. But it's funny, when you get to Force Awakens and it's like, Finn and Rey mention, Han the war hero? No, Han the smuggler. It's like there's stories about this Han Solo character that's lasted those 30 years. I mean, what do you see Han as? Do you see him as the smuggler, or do you see him as the war hero?
I see him as a hero. Yeah,
you do.
War. I guess war hero would be the most appropriate way to call him, but just more general, just hero of the rebellion kind of thing. And not so much even in Episode 4 though, but just when you take in all the movies all together, I think it's definitely he's definitely loyal to his friends, but it's just he gets so involved with the rebellion as a whole, to be so much as to become a general, and to sit in on those mission briefings and talk to Mon Mothma and like talk about missions. So it's like he's a full blown he's completely involved with the rebellion, and he's 100%.
But he didn't stay with it though.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say 100% just because we don't have all those stories. But it does seem like he's just after the war. It's just he fell back into his old way because, like, he's a I don't know. It's just there was no need for him to be that person anymore. So he had his family, but he also had nothing else to occupy himself professionally. So he just drifted back into the smuggling, to the racing, to all that stuff, and that just took over. The family side of him, I guess,
Yeah, and that makes me, that kind of makes me think too, because I keep going back to, it's fun, not keep going back, but this reminds me of a complete sidebar. If anybody grew up watching 24, the show 24?
Yeah.
So Kiefer Sutherland plays a character named Jack Bauer on that show. Right. And each season, Jack Bauer saves the country.
In a day.
But he gets no recognition.
Yeah.
Like you would think someone like him or someone like John McClane.
I was going to say that.
Constantly save the country.
Yeah.
And they get crapped on still by the government. They don't you would think someone like that would get whatever they want. Like you don't have to pay taxes the rest of your life. Yeah. You don't have to it's like we'll do whatever you need us to do. You
Yeah.
know, we'll help you. And it's like I feel like Han's in that same boat. Like
Yeah, that's good. That's
Han
fair.
saved the galaxy, but people don't really. And Leia, you kind of sense that with Leia. Like it's amazing to think in Bloodline. You know, I get it that the reveal of her father being Vader turned a lot of people against her.
Yeah.
But you got to think in that 24 years leading up to that. It's like I don't know. Again, we don't have the full story, but I get the sense that I don't know. A lot of people didn't just ultimately follow her.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Right away. You know, because like if you think about it, Mothma becomes the new chancellor, right? Now, she was the leader of the rebellion in a sense, but I mean, she wasn't on the ground fighting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Han, Leia, Luke, even Lando. I mean, these people were out there literally risking their lives. Mothma, I'm not even sure where was she at even during the Battle of Endor? You know, it's like
Yeah.
But ultimately they gave her the chancellorship to lead them and not Leia.
That's probably what people have. Probably the biggest problem people have with the sequel trilogy and this new canon is like how much it differs from what is now Legends, and that everything just kind of was quiet after Jakku.
Yeah.
Whereas the expanding universe, they
There's
are
constant fighting,
constantly going on to bigger, better, grander things, and like always being held at the top of like you are the heroes of the galaxy.
Yeah.
So it's
I do get that sense that they were regarded higher, and looked to more whenever there were threats, either Thrawn or the
New Jedi Orders,
Orders,
and everything in between. Yeah, every single time. You know, back then Wedge was a part of it too. So Wedge was like huge, high up in the ranks of everything. So Akbar was. So all the legacy characters were still very much. And Lando kind of went off and did his own thing too, but always came back and was a part of it when it needed to be.
And the Solo twins were a big part of it too.
Yeah,
right?
the whole family. So it's all because Luke had his academy. You know, he had all these people following him through that, and he was very much he wasn't the hermit. You know, so that's the biggest jarring thing that it's just why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, maybe it's the easy way out, but it's still good stories. It's still satisfaction.
100% agree. But I think the top answer. I think there's a lot of answers you could have for that, but I think the main answer is that is new characters.
Of course.
That's really
which is fine. But it's just that's just people's always going to have that problem with Luke in Last Jedi. It's just his character beats. It's just
totally
seeing it works, and I think people will come to love it with time, but it's just why. But like, you could have taken him any direction probably and written it to make sense probably. But like, why wouldn't you do this way? Because this would be cooler to see. I don't know. So
no, I'm with you. I think with that big of a gap, 30 years.
Yeah.
There's just and when Force Awakens came out, we had nothing in between.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it's like, this is what happened after 30 years of Return of the Jedi. It's like
it's just like nothing big happened, I guess.
But also, what really has gotten better? I still go back to. I wish we never really have seen the state of the Republic in the Force Awakens.
No, nothing.
Or any, you know what I mean? Like
Bloodline was the best clue to that.
Yeah, agreed. But the fact that we never were fully on Hosnian Prime or Coruscant, and we haven't seen how society is. We only seen kind of the Jakku and Takodana and places that are remote, right? We never really see society, and I'm curious. And like you said, Bloodline kind of tells us that people have moved on from the Empire, and they don't feel like the First Order is a threat. But they feel a little complacent, like we're good, nothing's gonna happen now. But
we need.
But I feel like we need more story.
Oh, definitely
in that 30-year gap, and I think that will again, like what it's kind of doing with the original trilogy, is it'll add more context to these movies that are out now.
No, we need a show smack dab in the middle of that 30-year gap, and to just doesn't have to involve any legacy characters. It's just about something else happening.
Well, I don't think you. I think
I
think the legacy characters are going to be hands off once this movie's done. Don't
well,
you think?
yeah. Well, the Mandalorian articles in Entertainment Weekly even made a point to say the legacy characters aren't involved in this first season of Mandalorian. But that's just 5 years after. So about like 15 years, it's like, yeah, you wouldn't need to talk about them anyways. You wouldn't need to talk about Han or Leia or Luke. Yeah. Like it could just. I mean, I definitely want comic books or stories about where they are.
Could you? This is just out there because I feel like he would do this. Could you do a series on Luke starting the Academy?
Yes. Like that's straight up like a Filoni thing to do is
right?
Young Ben as like your 12, 13, 14-year-old Ezra type character starting off confused.
Because Hamill doesn't look that old. I mean, you can play with that in a sense.
I mean, if you wanted to do live action, yeah, definitely.
No, I'm saying live action.
Yeah, you can.
No, I'm saying a Disney Plus live action series.
Yeah,
with Mark Hamill. Now, is that because it's not the Skywalker Saga in a sense, but I don't know if that's too hands off. But
they do it soon. I mean, they can make him look younger. Mark Hamill.
No, I think you have to do it soon.
It's No, it would be so cool. That would be the best.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's inevitable that Dave Filoni will be given some more live action property, so that could be something he could do. Who knows? Movie, Disney Plus show. Who knows?
Anyway, that was my thoughts on Han, and how much he plays into this into the Kylo Ren character, because I think that's what's significant about that.
Yeah. But it's all going to be moot because in Rise of Skywalker, we'll find out that it was just a long con and Kylo was faking the whole thing. So,
oh my gosh, better not. All right, so with that, we will wrap it up this week. Just a reminder, this is crazy, but the Rise of Skywalker is only 104 days away. We are approaching the 100-day mark.
Just got to get to November.
I know.
Because November will coast us all the way through to December.
That's true. That's true. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Just little quick details, too. The next adult novel that is hitting your shelves is coming November 5th, which is Resistance Reborn, which is going to be very curious because I think that book, what I've somewhat read about that is that, again, I don't read much of that about the books coming out, but it's going to lead up right to the Rise of Skywalker, so we'll kind of see the resurgence of the Resistance, it seems like, in this year gap between The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker. Of course, go to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you'd like, please join our Facebook group, Inside the Force. Just search Inside the Force on Facebook, and you'll find us there. Just answer some questions. You'll get in, start talking Star Wars with all of us. I will, by the time this comes out, I think I'm going to put it out tonight, but I have been working on this revamped timeline. I've actually shared it in our group. Some people in there, actually, there's a couple questions that popped up with it, like the dotted line thing. And
yeah. Well.
So, but I think it's easy to follow. People are actually saying that it looks easier to follow. So, I'll put that out there. But it's our version of the timeline. It's got the movies on the top still. I added the words the Skywalker Saga. Mm-hmm. The next line is actually the solo, not solo, but the individual films. It's got Solo and Rogue One, and underneath that is the TV series. But it's got a clear numbering system of when things happen, and
it's very good.
I think it's pretty good. Yeah, so I'm going to do one actually of the books. Mm-hmm. The books will be easier than the.
Are you doing just adult novels, young
adult and young?
Yeah, adult and young. Yeah, could say that.
Adult and young adult.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how many that is. I
feel like it's a lot, but
a ton
who knows? Yeah.
But I think there's pretty clear timelines on those. I'll try to do the best I can as far as like
Because some of those definitely spread across
They do.
a lot of time. So yeah.
So I might be doing like the fork thing, you know. Yeah. So. But it's cool, you know. Easy to follow along. I want to do something like that. So anyway, look for that. That'll be on our social if I haven't done it already. That's it. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. And again, 104 days away from Rise of Skywalker, and a short, whatever, less than that for Disney Plus and The Mandalorian. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. And for Casey Cooley,
I killed Han Solo. When the moment came, I didn't hesitate.
That's right. He did.
Yeah, reading through some of his lines here, he's overcompensating to Snoke about how devoted he is to the dark side. I'm just trying to prove something.
That's right. Could be.
Very interesting.
Could be. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will be back next week. Enjoy yourself. Go watch some Star Wars. He's Casey.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave. May the Force be with you.